But if it is real, the first couple rounds are going to be dangerous for Paul. Even at 58, I don't care. They're going to be dangerous.
He's got a puncher's chance the first 3 rounds. I'm a little scared of Tyson getting hurt after the 3rd round.
Right.
Jake Paul's a big boy.
With the fight between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson only a few weeks away, countless analysts and experts have expressed their concerns about Mike's health, with some even considering this as a fatal bout for him. Meanwhile, on the other hand, the fighters appeared to be in great spirits during their countless public appearance, with the latest one being at the Cowboys vs. New Orleans Saints in Texas on Sunday, where both fighters participated in a face-off on the pitch before the commencement of the game in order to garner more publicity for the eventful fight on November 15th. Mike, who appeared in optimal physical state, even had a sarcastic smirk directed towards Jake, which many thought was a tactic to rile up the younger fighter. He then went on to meet with legendary American quarterback Tom Brady, who greeted the fighter with tremendous respect while mentioning that Mike looks much better than before. Seemingly pleased with this comment, Mike playfully jabbed at Tom to express his gratitude.
Hey, again. What's up, my man? You're looking good. You're looking stronger every time I see you. How you doing? You ready to go? Yeah. Where's your counterpart? I heard he's coming around today.
Not feeling very courteous and to get back at the veteran fighter, during the break, Jake proceeded to taunt Mike by mimicking the act of punching, but Mike proceeded to ignore Jake completely and appeared to be nonchalant about this gimmick as he continued to observe the pitch. However, many observers have commented that Mike seemed to look worn out during this appearance, further escalating the claims that he might not be prepared for the upcoming fight. With his own fateful bout coming up on the 21st of September in Wembley, Anthony Joshua seems to have a rather distinctive opinion that even though a fight like this might not contribute too much in terms of winning titles or belts, it is still an extremely profitable event. Further adding on to his point, AJ stated that the idea of YouTubers coming to professional boxing and getting renowned opponents might be heavily criticized, but one fact that no one can ignore is that it brings vast amounts of new audience to the sport, which ultimately plays in the benefit of the fighters as well as the community.
I personally think it's really good. I think that the boxing hardcores, like the boxing fanatics, they don't like it because it's like, why are they disrespecting our sport? There's an Olympic system that you have to go through, and once you're qualified there, then you go through to the professional ranks. Whereas someone with a profile can just come out of nowhere and fight one of the best guys. But I think, let's say we divided this crowd in half, and you've got half of the people that are hardcore boxing fans and half of the people that love a certain person that's into YouTube.
Like a YouTuber, yeah.
But that person brings all of these people into boxing, which benefits.
While giving a prediction for this fight, Anthony weighed in on the various positive attributes that each fighter possesses, with Jake having a clear advantage when it comes to age, and Mike having an unprecedented skill set accompanied with years of experience. Based on these factors, according to AJ, Jake might triumph over an almost 60-year-old me Tyson, because in any combat sport, especially boxing, the most important aspect is power and brawniness.
About his father time, that's one thing that has never been beat. And Tyson's, he's older now. But I pray that he comes out healthy, but I think Jake Paul because of youth. That's the only thing, because of the youth.
Danny Garcia shared the same opinion as AJ, but seemed to be more blunt with his statements on how this fight serves as nothing but entertainment, as no value might come out of a fight like this. Danny also went on to comment that even though he does not agree with Jake's choice of opponents, especially the most recent one being Mike, he still understands that an offer of this caliber is hard to ignore for any young prospect who aims at making a name for himself in this industry.
What do you think of stuff like Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson?
It's entertainment, definitely entertainment. It's a big difference between boxing and entertainment. I wouldn't call it a boxing fight, you know, it's definitely for entertainment, and you know, give the fans something to watch. And make entertain the fans around the world.
Being a veteran fighter himself and someone who faced Mike in 2020 in an exhibition fight, Roy Jones Jr. thinks that this fight will be an excellent opportunity for the business side of boxing, as for the first time ever we are witnessing a bout between one of the best heavyweight fighters in boxing and a fighter who is not that acclaimed yet, but still seems to have some good repute among the young generation. Referring it to as a bridge between two different eras of boxing, Roy thinks that the ongoing criticism is unwarranted, as Mike is still an excellent fighter who has a clear shot at victory.
I think it's a great fight, great marketing situation as well, because so many people want to see it because of the young lion and the old lion, you know? So it's a great situation for them, a great situation for fans, because it gives him it gives Jake a chance with Mike being as old as he is, you feel me? So I think it's a great opportunity for both fighters, but I still think Mike probably gonna be a little.
Clarifying his statement, Roy stated that despite being almost 60 years old, Mike still possesses tremendous power, which has the ability to knock out his opponents with a single precise shot. Giving advice from his own experience, Roy stated that the only strategy that could ensure Jake's survival in this fight would be for him to come out aggressive from the very first round, and to withstand Mike's wrath till the 4th or 5th round.
Power. Still got the power. That's why I say Jake has to get out of the first 3 rounds. Get past the first 3 rounds, he got a chance. But the first 3 rounds are going to be devastating.
And if Mike catches them with one shot, is it?
It's over. It's over. If he throws them.
Evander Holyfield, who is still remembered as one of the best heavyweight fighters from Mike's era, is also someone who knows what it feels like to share the ring with Kid Dynamite not only once but twice, and their bout way back on 28th June 1997 is still referred to as one of the most controversial moments in boxing history due to the biting incident that took place. Looking back at what exactly propelled Mike to do something so outrageous, it was evident that even before the fight, the atmosphere leading up to it had a huge impact on him, and the continuous ignorance that the referee further added fuel to the fire.
I think they've just about had enough. Tyson showing desperation in fighting Holyfield 2 times. Look out now. More fighting in the ring after the end of the fight. Tyson's trying to get at Holyfield again, I believe. It is complete bedlam, and Tyson is just taking swipes at anybody in front of him.
Knowing the fact that Mike tends to lose his composure at certain points during the fight, many die-hard boxing fans are hoping that they might witness something of this degree when the old ferocious fighter faces a supposed young and brash fighter like Jake Paul. Even Evander himself admits that after this incident, he saw Mike as a formidable force who is capable of going to any length to achieve dominance, and the only way to withstand him is to not get intimidated by him.
You know, and what bothered me is that now he think that I'm scared of him. Now he feel confident.
Yeah.
And so when I look at him, I see him he ready to go now. Now he ready to go because he thinking.
Coming back to the fight at hand, Evander explained that Jake has to be confident from the get-go, as a fighter like Mike is excellent at tracking any vulnerability in his opponents and taking advantage of that. Evander also explained that Jake has to make sure that he stays close to Mike rather than moving too far, because if he tries to avoid Mike by moving on his back foot, he will get hit by one of Mike's ruthless and quick pouches that are notorious for dropping down his opponents.
I don't know how much confidence that Jake Paul have in all this. But you know he's gonna be a lot quicker, and if he stay close to Mike, then his chance of winning gonna be great. But he try to stay back from Mike. Mike is like a snake. He'll pop out on you. He get there too quick. But if you charge him, you're gonna smother everything. Because everything he push off his legs. He push off his legs so he too close. Like this, but if you get him wrong, I mean, everybody get knocked out going backwards.
However, giving credit to the young fighter, Evander emphasized that the result of this fight will heavily rely on the strategy and game plan that Jake will employ. He added that for a fighter who does not have an extensive career in boxing, Jake has done well for himself, as with every fight, he has improved and enhanced his skills, making him a worthy opponent for anyone in the heavyweight division.
See Jake winning.
I don't know, it's all depending on how Jake fight, you know. I tell you what, if It's because somebody gonna tell him it's too crazy to be trying to get close to the guy. He gonna stay like that. Mike like he get in and he curve up like this and snap out and get you.
Yeah.
He'll jump
MC
up and
roll.
get you. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
I like this, and you know, I'm like, but you know, the point of the matter is, do Jake Paul take a good shot? I never seen him get hit by nobody.
Talking about past adversaries, Nate Diaz, who faced Jake Paul last year in August and faced defeat based on a unanimous decision, predicted the fight to go in Mike Tyson's favor, stating how throughout his career, Mike has faced countless varieties of opponents who have bestowed him with an unprecedented experience which will play a crucial role in his upcoming fight with Jake. However, Nate also surprisingly commended Jake for his growth in the sport and for not shying away from a fight like this.
I'm on Mike all the way. Mike's the man, you already know. And Jake's young, explosive, and got nothing to lose in every fight. So I think that's what he's got going for him. One day everything's gonna switch. One it's gonna be like he's supposed to be the guy who wins.
Pressure
I
changes.
think they'll be like a little different, like, you know.
Chuck Liddell, who is a well-known combat fighter who competed from 1998 to 2018, also referred to as the golden era of MMA, in a rather blunt statement, predicted the fight to go in Mike's favor based on the fact that in any fighter's life, the last thing that leaves him is his power, which for Mike is something that still remains intact, especially after noticing the excellent physical state that he seems to be in during the grueling training and sparring sessions organized in preparation of this fight.
Yeah, if Tyson's taking a dive, it's a favorite, but if Tyson hits him, it's over.
So,
hey, by the way, last thing to go is power.
Interesting.
Last thing to go is power. He hits him, it's over.
So it doesn't matter.
Mike still hits. You see Mike still hits.
Just like Nate, Francis Ngannou, who also has an MMA background, believes that Mike Tyson will be victorious in the bout based on his pristine boxing IQ and sheer power, even going as far as to issue a brutal warning to Jake during a podcast about how Mike will end his career. Another important point that Francis made was how Mike is still swift and tactful even at this age, which is quite surprising as many combat fighters tend to lose their precision and power after reaching the age of 40.
I think Mike Tyson's gonna beat my ass.
Yeah. I do.
Hey,
I mean,
you trained with Tyson. You trained with Tyson leading up to you.
Listen, I've seen Tyson moves around, just like to show me stuff. He was like this footwork moving, like you move like this, and I'm like, hold on, like, you know, calm down. You know, so
he still got it. He still got it.
He's not.
You think Mike Tyson's knocking him out?
Either way, I think Mike Tyson will beat you.
Even though Francis raised some noteworthy aspects, many people have pointed out that this opinion from Ngannou, just like the ones from the majority of boxing fans, might be overshadowed by the favoritism that he seems to have for Mike, which was further highlighted by the fact that Mike might have had a part in training the previous MMA fighter before his eventful fights with Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. Moving on, Michael Jai White, who is a former MMA fighter and actor, gave a more statistical view of how Mike will have the upper hand in this bout. One thing that Jay stressed on was that even at this age, Mike has not lost his power, which was apparent during his exhibition fight with Roy Jones Jr., who is an adversary Jake Paul will never compare to, so all the complaints about Mike being weak and tired are worthless in the end. Michael stated, Roy Jones Jr. has skills that Jake will never have, even at that age. Jake's got a punch, but see, Jake has fought really tiny guys in comparison to Mike. Nobody was worthy. The only big guy he fought was Tommy Fury that I know of. Another aspect that Jai highlighted was how accent an opponent like Mike, you have to have some size advantage because this will be the only way a person is able to corner him, which otherwise would be impossible as Mike's single punch packs enough power to dismantle the defense of his opponents. Michael said, I got Mike Tyson. I'm sorry I don't see how Jake pulls this off. I see Mike Tyson punching him in the body and I don't see how Jake stops that. Jake is not of the size to give Mike a problem. He added, big guys would hold Mike guys with a long reach and that outweighs him. I think those with Mike's weight, with Mike's center of gravity, I don't think there's anything that's going to stop him. When Mike hits him in the body doesn't move that much. I don't see how Jake survives a body attack. Meanwhile, Jake does not seem to be intimidated in the least by all these analysts and pros' warnings about Mike, as during his appearance at the illustrious New York event hosted as a face-off between the fighters, Jake emphasized that at this point in his career, he is not seeking any validation from anyone, because even though he has proved time and time again that he is a capable fighter, people still tend to undermine him.
Give me credit, that's the way it is. That's the way it is. If I was walking on water, they would say it's because I couldn't swim.
Being on this subject, Jake also brought up the fact that despite being the younger fighter, many believe that he will be easily knocked down by Mike Tyson, which is absurd, as out of the two, he is the one who has the power to fulfill this promise. While directly addressing Mike during his explosive rant, Jake issued a brutal knockout warning stating how regardless of the respect that he has for Mike as a fighter, he will not yield to any pressure and will show the world that he too is a vicious fighter who should be taken more seriously.
Just to make history, you know, people think I'm gonna get knocked out by this strong, powerful guy. All the people in my comments saying, look at his power, he's gonna get KO'd. People are yelling at me in the event, but what happens when I put this man to sleep? This shit is not a joke. He's saying that it's gonna be my funeral. He's saying it's gonna be my wake. He's gonna kill Jake Paul, all of these things. And that's why I love Mike, I respect him, but we're not friends anymore. Until November 15th, I'm knocking this fucker out, and we're gonna see who's dead.
Although many people in the industry, including Jake, see this fight as an excellent event and something that will be great for both fighters, there is a vast majority who are not happy about this fight even being considered in the first place and see this as a disrespect to a fighter like Mike Tyson, who has already done enough for the sport and has accomplished everything, fearing that this fight would have long-lasting effects on Mike's mental as well as physical health. Hulk Hogan, a WWE legend and icon, shared his alarming concerns during his appearance on Logan Paul's podcast. After being a first-hand witness to Jake's training sessions, Hulk pointed out how he had never seen the 27-year-old fighter look so dangerous and determined, before which should caution everyone, adding on how this recent physique paired up with a lethal motive can end up causing serious damage to Mike, which is not a good thing considering how Mike is at an age where he might not recover from a serious injury.
Your brother's too strong, bro.
He's too strong, right? Yeah. And he's like really actually super strong. The weight he pushes in the gym is impressive.
Yeah, last night, as soon as I saw him set the guy up and left, he kept going over there right with him. Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I mean, real.
No, seriously. And he has a left hand now that looks like it's firing off. He's.
Yeah, I love Mike to death. I don't want to kill Mike. Jesus.
Tyson. Bro, we have to talk about this.
However, this was not always the case, as just a few months before this podcast, Hulk was one of the few people who were completely in support of this fight, even calling it the fight of the century.
I'm glad it's rescheduled because I don't want any excuses. I want both men at 100%. And I got a feeling this is going to be the fight of the century, brother.
So what might have changed during this time period that led Hulk to change his outlook on this fight so drastically? Many fans and analysts think that the main cause for this change of heart might be the alleged deteriorating health of Mike Tyson over the last couple of months due to the excessive and grueling training sessions that he has been participating in, which are not favorable for someone his age. Another thing that has been a serious point of contention among the fans is the supposed absence of any authorities or sanctioning bodies who in an ideal situation should have intervened and stopped a fight like this, considering how, if we take a look at Jake's career leading up to this point, the problem child has not yet achieved any great landmark which should have allowed him to fight one of the best boxers of all time. Sharing this same opinion, Conor McGregor, known for his brutally honest and unapologetic takes, recently sat down with prominent TV host James Corden to express his frustration about fights like these, which are orchestrated just for the sake of publicity and add no value to the sport. Conor emphasized that even though these types of events might be good for the business, it is still not commendable for aspiring young athletes to follow the path that these new influencer-turned-fighters seem to portray, mostly based on how there is no requirement for the fighters to go through an extensive amateur career or aim to go to Olympics.
For sure, hustlers, and they played a great game. But for me, it does set a bad precedent in the industry, because what you've got now is, and I'll say this to the young athletes coming up, men and women, don't aspire to be, one of these like YouTuber fighters.
Right.
Aspire for world titles. Aspire for Olympic That is how you rise. That is how forever. That is how you etch your name in history. Doing these little smash and grab fights, you know, you might get a few likes, but it's not. There's nothing substantial to it. It's hollow. It's hollow. It can be profitable, but it's hollow.
Being on the same page about the Mike Tyson and Jake Paul fight, Conor stated that fights like these make no sense for the public, as well as the diehard boxing fans, because at the end of the day, they really don't look forward to seeing their favorite boxer get beaten down by a new and underserving fighter who has not once taken down an opponent who is compatible with his age or size.
Your thoughts on this Mike Tyson and Jake Paul fight?
Oh, geez, I don't. It's a bit strange. You know, is my interest? The interest is a low one. I don't know. I don't really. I don't understand it. I wish well for Mike.
What Conor tried to allude to here is the ongoing criticism of Jake Paul and his rather strange choice of opponents, including fighters like Anderson Silva, Nate Diaz, and now Mike Tyson, who all seem to be either fighters who are past their prime or are fighters who have retired for many years. Even Jake's most recent bout with Mike Perry was an object of public scrutiny due to the size difference and the fact that it was Perry's debut in professional boxing which ended up playing a crucial role in his defeat. Ken Shamrock, who is a former WWE legend and MMA fighter, thinks that this fight is nothing but an odd gimmick organized for the sole purpose of making a huge profit because there is nothing important that will come out of a fight like this. Ken shared the same ideology as Conor about how fights like these are meaningless for boxing as there are no worthy titles involved.
Guys, they'll put on a show. They'll put on a show. It'll be a fight, but it's not going to be. It's not going to be a title fight.
I believe it's actually an actual sanctioned event now. This is going to go on their permanent records.
Refusing to give any prediction for the fight, Ken emphasized how fights like these don't deserve any optimistic recognition because if this fight were to take place when Mike Tyson was at his prime, there was no chance that Jake could have beaten him, but now, as he has gotten older, he is at the risk of seriously getting injured by the younger fighter who naturally has more powerful than him.
I won't. I won't because I don't know what the true outcome would be. I don't. I mean, I'm not saying that someone's going to throw the fight. I'm not saying that at all, but I am saying that Mike Tyson is not his best.
Yes.
He is not what he used to be, not even half of what he used to be. So I'm not betting on it because I know Mike could beat him at half his best because he was that good. But he's got that much power still. But the problem remains is whether or not Mike can last long enough to be able to land a punch. Because if he doesn't, Jake Paul's going to beat him because Jake Paul's a good boxer.
Ken then went on to state how an iconic fighter such as Mike Tyson does not deserve this as he is not only the best boxer, but he also made tremendous contributions to the sport.
Mike Tyson.
That's what I don't want to see. I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
And it's not because I don't like Jake Paul, it's because I love Mike Tyson. I do. I think everything he's done for boxing and what he's done in his career, he doesn't need this.
No.
He doesn't need.
Jorge Masvidal, who is an MMA fighter turned boxer, thinks that this fight on November 15th is one of the most absurd fights in boxing history, as the motive behind it is not apparent to anyone based on the fact that there are no titles involved and how there is an astounding 30-year gap between the fighters which defeats the main purpose behind any combat sport, especially boxing.
There's so many moving parts to that, like, is it an exhibition? Is it 16-ounce gloves? Is it 2-minute rounds? It's like so much fun. You know.
Jorge also pointed out that even though Jake has the physique and power of a good boxer, he still lacks the personality of one, which is a very important aspect, especially when you are facing an opponent like Mike Tyson, who is known for his ability to intimidate his adversaries even before the fight starts. To further clarify his point, he brought up the fight between Nate Diaz and Jake last year, where it was quite apparent that despite winning the fight, Jake still has to work on his ability to psychologically affect his opponents.
Boxing is, much as it is physical, it's a very spiritual thing. It's something that you have to put your heart and soul into. You have to be in the best shape as possible. And you also have to be a mean mother. All those qualities I just mentioned, I didn't think either of them kind of showed it in that fight. Nate Diaz didn't take him seriously at all. It looked like he just got out of the couch from smoking a blunt, hit a couple pads and went and fought. And Jake is just not a mean guy, you know. He's just not a fucking mean guy in that boxing ring, you know, especially when he's faced with somebody.
Regardless of this analysis, Jorge still thinks that despite Mike's exceptional attributes and personality, he is old and rusty as compared to his youth. So this might be a major downside going into this bout.
the first sport that I discovered and fell in love with was boxing, you know, and then a couple years later I found MMA and pledged my life to it. Boxing is, much as it is physical, it's a very spiritual thing. It's something that you have to put your heart and soul into. You have to be in the best shape as possible, and you also have to be a mean mother. All those qualities I just mentioned, I didn't think either of them kind of showed it on that fight. Nate Diaz didn't take him seriously at all. It looked like he just got out of the couch from smoking a blunt, hit a couple pads, and went and fought. And Jake is just not a mean guy, you know. He's just not a fucking mean guy in that boxing ring, you know, especially when he's faced with some adversity. So I don't give him the greatest performance of my life, you know, of their life.
If you were to put your money on the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight that's supposed to happen in July, who would you say?
Everybody's been asking me that, but there's just so many moving parts to that. Like, is it an exhibition? Is it 16-ounce gloves? Is it 2-minute rounds? It's like so much fucking shit, you know? And Tyson, I don't care who you are, nobody's above Father Time. Tyson's what, like 6 years old, I think?
Tyson is 57.
57.
And Jake Paul is 27.
Yeah, you know, man, that you know, no matter how much of an athlete and mean Tyson was in his prime, this is way past his prime, so I just don't know how much of Tyson is left, you know.
Meanwhile, regardless of the concern voiced by the majority, Mike Tyson seems to be in high spirits, expressing his gratitude for his fans, stating how even though he faced some health issues leading up this fight, due to which it was postponed in the first place, he is back and he is ready to face the problem child inside the ring on the fateful fight night.
I'm very prepared. I'm very prepared. I had a small adversity. I got sick, but I'm better. I feel good.
Addressing his reasons for taking on this fight, Mike gave a candid answer about how the reason that he chose this fight at this point was because he wanted to come back and put a fighter like Jake in his place. He added that how the only reason that this event is getting this much publicity is because of his involvement, so Jake should not go around claiming that he is one of the best fighters of this era when he is only just a pesky YouTuber.
No, that's the funny question, because I can. Who else can do it but me? Let's look at it. Who else is he gonna fight to make this happen? Listen, you just have to listen to the fact. We got a YouTuber fighting the greatest fighter that ever lived.
Now, Mike has not only been issuing these statements for the sake of public exposure, because according to countless reports and clips on social media, the 58-year-old has been partaking in vigorous training sessions, which not only include sparring sessions with competent coaches and trainers, but this meticulously created regime also has special training exercises which allows Mike to develop a certain level of resistance in case of any dangerous attacks from Jake.
Day 2, we're getting ready for you. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Being a crucial part of this journey that Mike is on, his coach and trainer Rafael Cordero has come out to clarify that Mike is in the best shape that he has been in for the last decades, contributing to the fact that he not only trains his body, but he also diligently works on his brain as well, which helps him in getting laser focused on the task at hand, which in this case is defeating Jake Paul. Rafael stated, "People have to understand that you have to see Mike the way he trains. He trains exactly the same way the new generation trains, sometimes even more than that, so it's no news for me." He added, "Mike can fight against anyone. From what I can see in the gym every single day, the way that he puts his brain to work is unbelievable. I believe Mike gonna put on a great show as he has trained hard every single day. When he puts his focus on something, it is amazing to see." Rafael also divulged in their game plan that Mike will employ, stating how the most important strategy that they are working on is to corner Jake in the earlier rounds by continuously punching him and pushing him so he does not get any chance to to retaliate, which will allow Mike to sustain the minimum amount of damage throughout the bout. Rafael said, "Mike is a monster, and the only thing I can guarantee is that Mike is going to touch Jake 100%. It's going to be impossible for Mike to not touch Jake. Let's see how Jake will react after them." Regardless of these comments, Rafael still commended Jake, stating that with the passage of time, Jake has improved and become a much better fighter than people anticipated him to be, especially after looking at his background as a juvenile YouTuber who made content especially directed towards the younger demographic. Being on the same topic, Rafael brought up Jake's previous bout, especially the one with Tommy Fury, which despite losing still made it clear that Jake is not an amateur fighter who does not know how to tackle dangerous and tough opponents. Rafael said Jake is no longer just a YouTuber, he knows how to fight as he has boxed against tough opponents in the past. He had a split decision with Tommy Fury, which means he's coming, but he still has not faced somebody who is a legend of the sport, somebody who has been here for a long time. Talking about the unique training methods that Mike and Rafael have implemented in the fight camp, Joe Rogan, who is a notable reporter and social media personality, revealed how after the health issues that Mike faced in the last couple of months, he has started to use certain equipment and medications, which will further facilitate him in this fight by not only enhancing his overall performance, but also by increasing his chances of recovery.
He got access to
everything. And he's also doing this very unique kind of training with electrical muscular stimulation that I've talked to some people that do that, and it has massive benefits of rehabilitating injuries. And it also, for a lot of people, gives them significant gains when they use it as opposed to just using weightlifting.
From any injury that he might sustain. Although Joe believes that all these additional factors might increase the chances of Tyson winning this fight, no one can ignore the fact that the age difference might be too much of a hurdle even for a fighter of Mike's caliber. Mentioning the plus points that Jake has, Joe stressed how at this point, especially after his fight with Mike Perry, Jake Paul is in his peak state, which is a fact that many people tend to ignore due to their bias toward the old veteran, which can prove to be a very dangerous thing for everyone who is involved in this fight.
A different kind of human being, and he still can knock your head into another dimension if he can catch you. The thing is, can he catch a 28-year-old guy who's at the top of his career, who's winning legitimate boxing matches? I mean, he's beating former UFC world champions like Tyron Woodley. You know, he had that very good fight with Tommy Fury, who's a legitimate boxer, you know, which was a very good fight. You know, he just beat up Mike Perry, who's a bare knuckle champion. I mean, he's a real fighter. He can fight.
Being on the same podcast as Joe, Russell Crowe, who is a famous actor and friend of Mike, stated that he is not too keen about this whole event from the very start, as to him, it all feels like a gimmick and circus just set up to entertain the public who in reality has nothing to do with boxing. Russell also appeared worried about the mental toll that this fight might have on Mike, as it has been quite some time since he has professionally boxed, so for him to jump back into that can be detrimental to his mental as well as physical health.
You know, what bothers me with this whole thing is that he's got to kind of, you know, slide back to that warrior, you know, and I'm just not sure he needed to do it. I just hope for the both of them that it transcends the sort of circus type atmosphere that's around it, you know.
Yeah.
That it's a legit fight and they both do well and nobody gets hurt.
That would be nice.
On the other hand, Teddy Atlas, who is not only a prominent figure in the boxing industry, but also someone who has couched Kid Dynamite before, believes that Mike is not someone to undermine even at this age because he is an athlete who has been training for decades in his life and has participated in countless bouts with a variety of adversaries. He does not age in the same as a regular person does.
When you were an athlete at that level that Tyson was, you know, the reason he looks so good on the pads is because he still has those quick twitch muscles. He still has that power. He still has those abilities that an average person will never have, you know, even at that age.
He further added that the last thing that an athlete loses is their power. which in Mike's case has always been his strong point, so it is important for Jake to be cautious of this, especially in the earlier rounds, because Mike will try to cause as much damage as he can before his energy starts to run out. But the main thing that Teddy seemed concerned about is whether Mike would succeed in activating this power, because it has a direct relation with a fighter's attitude and temperaments, which after observing countless interviews that Tyson has given ahead of this fight, seems to be missing.
So that has power like that, or had power like that, that's the last thing to go. The reflexes will go south. The timing will go north. You know, all those things will get deteriorated and betray you. But the power will always stay there. George Foreman proved that. It could be hairy for Paul, but it's hard to base, because I always say that no matter what your talents are, it's still attached to your personality and your temperament. You know, I used to say for all those years at ESPN, people would say, "Oh, Teddy, this guy's should be a killer. You know, he's got power, he's got this, he should be a killer." And I look at them and say, "Why? What do you mean, Teddy? Look at the talent. Look at those abilities." I said, "But it ain't his temperament. It ain't him."
However, along with his viewpoints, Teddy also presented some rather distinct takes about Jake, stating how though people might criticize Jake for taking shortcuts in the sport, no one can deny that he is a genius who carefully crafted an extraordinary opportunity for himself that he knew will generate enormous hype. Teddy also addressed the accusations on how Jake has only come so far because of his vexed choice of opponents, emphasizing that as long as the fights are legitimate and are approved by the sanctioning bodies, then it does not matter who he fights.
Did he pick his spots? Was he smart? Yeah. What are we supposed to hate him for that? For being smart and finding a way to go from where he was to this and to make money? But he still was. There was legitimacy to it. Or what's the legitimacy? Yeah, I know he picked older guys that were UFC fighters and they weren't the greatest strikers. But you know what they were? They were physically strong and apt guys that were fighters mentally.
Teddy also added that the real reason that people tend to target fighters from other backgrounds is because of the smart loopholes that they take, which in Jake's case was excellent, as now he is fighting one of the best fighters that has ever lived. But just getting this chance is not sufficient enough, so what Jake has done is to train himself strenuously over the years in order to become the best version of himself who is capable enough to withstand such notable fighters.
And I give credit to Paul. Look, that guy's a genius. I mean, first of all, he didn't disrespect the sport. I hear people come up to me. I've been in the sport 50 years. Say, "Oh, Teddy, he disrespected the sport." No, he didn't. He went out there. He got a trainer. He worked in the gym for 4 years, 5 years, whatever the hell it's been, to try to become the best fighter that he could be. To learn the sport, to respect the sport.
Sharing the same view about Jake as Teddy, his brother, and a professional wrestler, Logan Paul sat down with Mike Tyson during a podcast to comment on how people tend to really undermine Jake from the very start of his career, which with the passage of time results in the fighter becoming immune to the criticisms and only following what he desires the most.
Any man on this planet, let alone, Jake Paul.
Hey, I'm fearful. I'm fearful of my 13-year-old son. Yeah, this is what I learned through my 58 years of experience. Well, my experience.
What Logan might have tried to express here with his comments is how after his entry into the professional boxing scene more than 5 years ago, countless fighters and analysts brushed him off as nothing but a fake fighter who was trying to make some money by trying new things. But soon after, with one fight after another, Jake did his best to prove them wrong by winning all of his fights with only one loss in his career. So far, exit Tommy Fury last year, which happened due to a split decision. Fearing that Jake might be too far gone on his quest of proving himself worthy of being a heavyweight fighter, Logan warned Tyson that he might not be facing just another regular fighter on November 15th, and that this new ruthless version of Jake might actually cause him serious harm.
I love you, Mike.
Same.
And I'm very nervous for you.
Thank you for caring.
I do care. I care about you, and I care about my brother, and I know the path he's on right now, and it's ruthless, Mike.
I agree. It's pretty cool.
It's cool. It's so cool to watch, and he's really crushing it. And I just feel like I want you to be okay in there, Mike. And I want you got to take him serious, Mike, because he's
take him extremely serious.
Sensing the seriousness in these comments, it is apparent that, unlike the other fights in his career, Jake is taking this fight way more seriously, which also becomes apparent after watching the clips of his training sessions. Known for his power and ability to corner his opponents early on in the fight for the purpose of tiring them out with a series of punches, over the months even before the final date of this fight was announced, Jake has been training the accuracy of his punches along with a solid defense which will aid him in resisting Mike's attacks. According to many fans and experts, this training might have already started to show its effect, as during his last fight with Mike Perry, who was chosen as an opponent in place of Mike Tyson after Tyson had to withdraw due to a medical emergency, Jake appeared dominant and extremely dangerous, which eventually resulted in a spectacular knockout victory for him in the end. However, many people are still angry at Jake for taking up this offer no matter how lucrative the deal might have been, including the CEO of UFC, Dana White, someone who has always been critical of Jake Paul and his choice of becoming a combat fighter. According to Dana, for someone like Jake to get fights of this caliber is a disgrace to the sport because looking back at his record, he has never fought anyone who holds any value in terms of creating a legacy. Not holding back any shots, Dana even went as far as to state that the only reason that Jake has any career is due to the fact that he fights guys who are not the fighters that they once were, which is not only a very unethical thing to do, but also goes to show that he does not have what it takes to fight guys who are currently his contenders in the heavyweight weight division. Dana stated, Jake fought a guy who was his age and was also considered a boxer, and he lost. So if you can keep fighting 50-something-year-olds and make a living out of it, then you should also fight guys that box for a living and guys that are your age. How about that? To give more clarity on his take, Dana stated how a fighter like Jake will never ever fight someone his age and size such as Canelo Alvarez because he knows that he will never be able to defeat them or even have any chance at hitting them, so that's why he picks and chooses those fighters who will not be too arduous for him to fight. Dana added, why is he not fighting Canelo? Because it'd be a 30-second payday for Canelo. Canelo wouldn't do it either because he can fight real guys and keep his credibility intact and still make that kind of money, you know what I mean? Jake needs these guys. He needs Tyson and needs all these other people. As someone who has been a close friend of Mike Tyson for many years, Dana grimly stated that it is not advisable for him to fight someone young at this point because no matter how strong and 80 you were, the younger fighter will always have a clear advantage over you in terms of being more powerful and swift. Dana said, Mike Tyson has a puncher chance against anybody but Mike's 58 years old, you know what I mean? I hate doing this because Mike gets mad at me every time I do this, but Mike shouldn't be fighting. However, one positive thing that Dana had to say about this whole event was the involvement of Netflix and other notable streaming services in the live broadcasting of sports, especially combat sports like boxing and MMA. According to the statistics shared by Dana, this new contribution will not only garner a huge audience towards this sport from all over the world, but it will also allow the fighters themselves to get more recognition in the mainstream media, which is something that has been missing.
I think that Netflix should have gotten into live sports years ago. I think they're late to the game, but they are a force. They're a force, man. And when you look at the amount of homes that they're in worldwide.
Always on the lookout for a good business deal, renowned promoter, Eddie Hearn also thinks that this fight will be a massive event that will prove to be very profitable for not only the major stakeholders involved, but also for the fighters themselves. But one thing that Eddie stressed on was the fact that this was a fight that a real fighter or genuine boxing fan would never even consider, because it does not feel like there is any authenticity about it.
So they're looking at it from a different angle. They're looking at it for numbers. They're looking at it for, hype. And I get it. I understand that this freak show may well do good numbers. But I think if you genuinely care about the sport and the history of the sport, and particularly the legacy of one of the greatest fighters of all time, it's not something you'd ever consider. Yeah. But, I understand their strategy in the business, and You know, if it does numbers, they don't really care what, you know, how it looks in terms of the empathy of it. But, you know, I don't think it's something that you'd ever see a real boxing person.
Being a Mike Tyson fan himself, Eddie stated how it is a shame that a fighter like Miki, who has already established his legacy both inside and outside the ring, has to come back and participate in fights like these while simultaneously putting his health at major risk. He also added how even if Jake ends up winning this fight, which he most probably would due to his age and power, it will not add any credit to his record, but it might just do the opposite and put him under more intense criticism for beating up a 60-year-old man.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just a different world, isn't it? You know, that we live in, this new generation. But good luck to him. You know, I'm sure it'll do good numbers, and hopefully Mike Tyson doesn't get hurt, because it would be a travesty for boxing.
Yeah, you're asking the wrong guy. I'm a hardcore boxing fan. He's one of my heroes. I find it very sad, but it's a big event. I understand people are going to watch it, and it's entertainment, I guess. But for someone that idolised the guy growing up, yeah, not the best day.
You think Jake Paul gets any credibility if he beats Mike Tyson?
He's 58 years old.
However, one thing that Eddie seems to be ignoring is that he has done the same by orchestrating a future possible fight between boxing legend Manny Pacquiao and a much younger Conor Benn, which defeats the purpose of his lengthy argument. Talking about Pac-Man, Manny Pacquiao, he too seemed to have a somewhat straightforward opinion about this fight. According to the clip that was later shared on social media, Manny appeared almost surprised about the fact that a fight like this is being organized, and sharing his predictions about it, he clearly sided with Mike, stating how the young fighter does not have what it takes to take on a mighty boxer like Mike Tyson.
What do you think of Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson? That fight just got announced, Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson.
They're going to fight, huh?
Yeah, they're going to fight. Do you think Jake Paul can beat Mike Tyson?
I don't think so.
Not so polite with his words, Carl Froch has blasted Jake Paul and referred to him as a disgrace to the sport for bragging about fighting someone like Mike Tyson. Understanding that this is just a front maintained by Paul to generate excitement and hype around his fight, Carl emphasized that the main problem with Jake Paul that irks a lot of people is that he tends to take himself a little too seriously by comparing himself to professional fighters who have not only respected the sports in their eras, but have also risen from the ashes to reach the points that they are at now.
At a low level, he can't call himself a professional boxer, which he continues to try and do. And listen, I don't get wound up about it. I know what he's doing. He's in the business of making money, and he knows how to make money. Fair play to him. But is he taking himself seriously as a professional boxer? Unfortunately, I think he is. And I think it's a disgrace, because he's jumping in with a 58-year-old Mike Tyson when he's only 26-year-old himself.
Another noteworthy point that Carl highlighted was how from the very beginning, when the fight was initially announced, everything appeared to be scripted and fake, with many people even speculating that it was always decided that Jake will have a big fight and win it to achieve a supposed landmark in his career. And for this purpose, Mike was the perfect scapegoat. Sharing the same take, Carl pointed out how even during the latest press conference that the fighters had in New York, only Jake acted as if this fight is real, while others including Mike appeared to be anything but serious about this upcoming fight, which further goes to show that this is nothing but a cheap attempt at a publicity stunt.
Mike Tyson, I think he's just going to be playing his role. In my opinion, Mike Tyson's probably got the script, because when I saw that press conference the other day, there was like a little bit of a shove by Tyson at the end, like a half-hearted shove. It was like there was like nothing in it. Jake Paul kind of didn't know what to do, was stood there, stern looking, not saying, I don't think he said anything. But it all just looked really contrived, it looked really fake, and Tyson gets a bit giddy and starts jumping around and smiling. He does a stupid little half-hearted push, and I mean, Jake Paul got booed, but I don't know, it's not even pantomime, it's worse than pantomime.
Addressing Mike's reason for accepting such a degrading offer, one thing that many experts and fans seem to agree on is that the sole reason that Mike might have considered this offer is because of the huge amount of money he is being offered for this fight, which is a theory that makes a lot of sense, as this has happened before with great and legendary fighter who tend to face financial issues after they have retired from the game, with the most prominent example being that of Floyd Mayweather, who was involved in a huge controversy for the very same reason. But still, regardless of his reason, Carl believes that this does not give the right to anyone to take advantage of Mike in this manner, where he can face life-threatening repercussions in case of any injury.
And I just feel saddened that if he's fighting Jake Paul for the money, It's a shame because, let's be honest, Jake Paul's 26 years old. He does train quite a lot. He's in the gym a lot. He's trying to train like a professional. He's an athlete and he can punch. He can punch a bit. He's swinging away. What is he, 14 and a half, 15 stone? And he's punching away. And at 58 years old, Mike Tyson doesn't really want to be taking any punches to the head, not even one punch to the head at 58 years old. That could be detrimental to his health. That could.
Sharing the same fear for Mike's health, Oscar De La Hoya stated that the best chance that Mike will have in this fight would be in the first 3 rounds before his energy runs out, because no matter how strong you were in your youth and how dangerous you were to your opponents, age is something that you can't ignore, and in this case, it seems to favor Jake, who is 30 years younger than Iron Mike.
I saw him the other day. I love Tyson. I told him, he can punch. Of course, he's got a puncher's chance the first 3 rounds. I'm a little scared of Tyson getting hurt after the 3rd round.
Right.
Jake Paul's a big boy. He's, 26 years old. Tyson's 61. I'm happy for Tyson that he's making money and that Tyson still loves it and he's getting in there, he's in shape.
Right.
But just be careful.
So in the end, what do you guys think about his fight on November 15th? Do you agree with the majority that this fight should not be happening as it puts Mike Tyson's health at serious risk? And do you also believe that the only reason that Jake Paul opts for older guys is because deep down he knows that he is not a good boxer? Or do you guys believe that people are underestimating the young fighter and this fight is a great opportunity for him to cement his legacy? Make sure to tell us about your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe to our channel.